London AIM-listed T42 IoT Tracking Solutions plc is a global shipping container tracking specialist, and it's recently seen a 70% plus rise in its shares as it secured a new 5-year deal in the States and more recently signed a deal with DHL in the more local market for commercial orders. It operates in an area which currently sees something like around about 50 billion US dollars of estimated cargo theft and other related losses per annum. This is a big area and one that is growing. And talking to us now is the Chief Financial Officer of the company, Igor Vatenmacher. Igor, good to talk to you. Thanks indeed for joining us. Before we take a look at the products and how you use them, just explain how T42 is positioned in this market and precisely what it is and how you're engaging with this area of tracking.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Jeremy. Just one step back to understand what we are talking about. So we're talking about a market that have a huge issue. It's a market that actually stuck in the Middle Ages. We're talking about the most important market that transfer most of the goods in the world, but yet it's a one black hole. So we are talking about zero visibility almost in that market. T42 is actually bring to the market one of the solution is here you can see it's what we used to call TETIS. It's a very simple device that you just connect to the dash of the door of the container in a very simple installation, a few seconds, and the internal part goes into the container. It actually bring all the data from the container with a bunch of sensors that measure temperature, humidity, CO levels, light sensor, shock sensors, and you name it. And the external part is actually used for connecting the outside wall and bring the data 24/7 to the end user.
So, using the Internet of Things, the owners of whatever goods are in the container can monitor all these things that you are talking about. Is that correct?
Correct. There is actually several layers of users that you can mention, whether it's forwarders, carriers, from the one hand, custom authorities, police, and the end users itself. So everybody might be interested in that data that we are actually bringing from the container to the outside world.
What are you seeing as Chief Financial Officer? What are you seeing in terms of the uptake of this and the income? Where's the income come through from? Is it just the protection side of it, or are you doing anything else as well?
No, we are currently working on several technological challenges that might bring us to shifting the business model. Nowadays, we actually sell this device in a one-time profit and recurrent revenues on a monthly basis per device. We're talking about shifting to new business model that we're gonna be the owners of the data, and we will be able to resell it to all the end users that I just mentioned on previous question.
So you're selling software as a service as opposed to anything material.
We are targeting to shift from both hardware and software to shift the business model to software only. And you can understand that the gross margin on software business is obviously much higher than both combination of hardware and software. Obviously, the contract that you mentioned at the very beginning, once we initiate the deployment of those, we're talking about whole new company that all the legacy business will be just fading away naturally.
So how does this position T42 against the competitors? Are you saying then that providing this as a software, and as you say you own the data, is that going to put you in a better position to combat competition in this increasingly important market?
Sure, Jeremy. We currently have superior solutions, superior devices, superior technology. We have clear advantages. We see it of at least 18 months over the competitors in the market. We are now targeting to penetrate mass market by actually giving the hardware free of charge and just focusing on the data for any users that might use it across the globe.
Okay, in that case, taking what you've told us, explain more about how you've been able to win these contracts I was talking about at the start. I was talking about that 5-year deal in the US. How important, first of all, is this contract? Clearly, the shares went up considerably after the news of this deal. How important is it for you for this deal itself?
Sure, all the contract that we just published recently, it's obviously only the beginning because we are in the past few months been focused on shifting the business from the legacy business of mobility to the shipping container business. And in a relatively short time, we managed to conclude those two important contracts, as you mentioned. Both of them focusing on specific aspect of custom authorities in a specific geographical areas. But we are obviously certain that those are just the beginning and the example of the capacity of this market that we're talking about almost 50 million containers running across the globe that we are targeting to penetrate and to install our hardware in each one of them.
And so going back to the business model again, is this just purely containers? Is this purely seagoing vessels? Or are you talking about inland transportation as well and security of inland transportation?
We have actually a solution for the whole supply chain. It's not only sea vessels. Of course, sea vessels is the majority of this market. We're talking about almost 80% of the goods being transferred in the containers, mainly across the sea. But we have a solution also for the inland, whether it's vehicles, trucks, or trains. We have solutions for all of those. It's a different variation of the products, but the data is basically the same data that we are bringing to the users.
What about recent operations within the company? How has COVID affected the business? We've been hearing a lot about the downtrend in container shipping, particularly. We've got a lot of evidence to suggest that that's it got a lot worse, obviously, during lockdowns. How has it affected T42?
It's a good question, Jeremy. I think that the COVID actually created for us the opportunity. We found it as a blessing. The global supply chain issue across the globe is a matter that concerns almost any entity running in the global environment business. And we are here to bring the solution to mitigate those issues by actually enlightening the market, by providing visibility of the goods in several different aspects to the end user.
So to confirm, you feel that the experiences of the lockdown, the disruption to the supply chains, has actually put T42 in commercially a better position than it would otherwise have been? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying that the COVID brought excellent opportunity for us. We found it as a blessing, and we're here to use this opportunity to focus on the shipping container market and bring the T42 solution to the world.
One final question is what's going to happen in 2022? We've been discussing there these new contracts you've had recently. More of the same coming? Are you negotiating more deals that will give you more exposure in this massive market? I mean, I think what you're talking about, a market that's worth 100 billion, you've got a market cap of 11.2 million pounds. Tiny compared with the potential, I would suggest. How are you going to develop the business this year?
Oh yeah, it's a good question. None of the history will come back again. We're talking about whole new company that we're talking about. We're talking about those two contracts that you mentioned. Once its deployment will actually start during 2022 and going forward, as you mentioned, part of it for 4 years, part of it for 5 years, but obviously it's a continuous contract that SaaS revenues continue to grow. We are talking about completely new entity, and the balance sheets to look completely different in 2022. I'm not here to spread any promises, but obviously it's a whole new business we are talking about.
Yeah, sure. No, we won't hold you to that, but I certainly would like to catch up with you later on in the year to see how things are going and to see whether or not you're able to lever some opportunities in 2022. Look, Igor, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much indeed for joining us. That's Igor Vatenmacher. He's the Chief Financial Officer of T42 IoT Tracking Solutions PLC. For more videos from us here at IGTV, join us on Twitter at IGCom, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.